Discover the Hidden Valley of Campfires, an incredible journey that inspires life-changing dreams. In the heart of a worn-down Midwestern town, whispers carried by the wind spoke of a hidden valley, a sanctuary waiting to be rediscovered. Mia Johnson, a 16-year-old with dreams boiling within her like water ready to overflow, could never imagine that the valley, tangled in weeds and shadows, held the key to her family's suffering and her community's despair. The weight of mounting bills pressed down on her, suffocating any flicker of hope. Her father, a silent warrior of the forgotten wars, battled the demons of PTSD each day at home, while her mother toiled at the diner, scraping by just to keep the lights on. Every evening, Mia faded into the smoky glow of the campfires that dotted the neighborhood, where laughter and stories danced like embers in the night. Here, the warmth wrapped around her, offering a fleeting sense of connection and possibility. But soon, a darkness wrapped tighter around the town when news broke that the factory, the heartbeat of their community, would close its doors, leaving desperation in its wake. Neighbors exchanged wary glances, the air thick with mistrust, while Mia felt a familiar tightness in her chest, a fear that stemmed from a single thought: would her family be the next to feel the sting of loss? Then, one stormy afternoon, wandering the outskirts of town in search of sanctuary, Mia stumbled upon the hidden valley, thick with overgrown grass and brambles. The soft rustle of leaves spoke of hope, igniting a spark within her that she hadn't felt in ages. It was there, standing amidst forgotten dreams, that she found Drew, the new kid with haunted eyes, his troubled past as heavy as her own. In each other, they discovered a bond whispered through shared grief, a promise of transformation. "We need to gather everyone, ignite the sparks around the fire again," Mia said, breathless with determination. They envisioned campfire storytelling nights in the valley, dreams rekindled through shared tales. It wasn't just about escaping their struggles, it was about offering glimmers of hope to their neighbors, creating an oasis of healing in the midst of chaos. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Mia and Drew spread the word, enthusiasm collided with resistance. The air buzzed with energy as they faced skepticism and doubts, fears ignited like kindling. Tensions flared in an explosive confrontation, raw emotions spilling out on the ground like flames leaking at dry wood. Mia realized that change demanded confronting her own insecurities, challenging the weight of expectation that held her captive. The valley, once forgotten, began to breathe with life as stories intertwined: the pain of loss, the struggle for hope, the resilience of the human spirit. Each night lit the path for those weary souls, illuminating the darkness that had settled over the town. But in the growing warmth of community, Mia found herself at a crossroads. As the embers crackled and sparked in the quiet night, Mia grappled with her dreams. Could she break free from the expectations that weighed her down? Was it possible to reach for the stars while still honoring her roots? In that flickering light, caused by the shared laughter and the solace of human connection, the valley called out to her, beckoning for her to choose: would she chase her own dreams or remain in the comforting shadows of home, crafting a future for everyone together? The night shimmered with uncertainty, and as the flames danced, the question lingered. What new dawn awaited her? The next evening, Mia gathered everyone at the entry to the valley, the sun dipping low and painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. She felt a stirring in her chest, anticipation mingling with nerves. This was more than just a gathering, it was a chance to breathe life back into the town, to light a spark that had all but vanished. Drew stood beside her, his presence steady and reassuring. He scanned the group forming in the clearing, familiar faces intertwining with those she barely recognized. There were old friends, skeptical neighbors, then even a few who had turned their backs on each other long ago. The air crackled with unspoken tension, a mixture of hope and dread hanging over them like a thick fog. Welcome, everyone, Mia started, her voice trembling slightly but growing stronger with determination. We are here to share stories, to heal together. We need each other now more than ever. She glanced at Drew, who nodded in silent support. As she spoke, Mia's heart raced, fueled by the raw energy in the air. She could see it in the eyes of those around her, the flicker of curiosity mingled with reluctance. They had all felt the town's pain. They wore the scars of disappointment and fear. One by one, voices broke the silence, hesitant at first, then building momentum like an approaching storm. An elderly man spoke of his youth, his laughter mixing with tears as he recounted how the factory had once welcomed dreams instead of stifled them. A young mother shared her struggles of raising children in a town quickly losing its heartbeat. As each story unfolded, Mia felt walls crumbling, hearts opening, much like the petals of a flower finding sunlight. Drew stepped forward, his voice low but steady. We can't change everything overnight, but we can start here, right now. In this valley. His words hung like the last light of day, piercing through the darkness that overshadowed them. Let us rekindle the spirit of the community, one story at a time. Mia took a deep breath, struck by how their shared vulnerability transformed the space. The valley, once cloaked in shadows and whispers, felt alive. It was no longer just a forgotten place, it was a sanctuary of hope. As the campfire crackled to life, flickering shadows leaped and danced, telling a story of their own amidst the laughter and tears. Mia realized something important: these moments were precious. She could feel the weight of expectations lifting as she allowed herself to embrace this journey. A thought crossed her mind, heavy yet thrilling: she could become more than what the town expected. She could guide others as they reclaimed their dreams, but as the stories continued, a shadow lingered Drew. His laughter echoed with a hint of sorrow, a reminder that beneath their newfound hope, his own battles were still raging. Mia, he said softly during a quiet interlude, drawing her attention away from the group. What if the valley holds more secrets than just hope? The question stirred something in her, an unease wrapped around curiosity. The evening felt heavy with unspoken truths, hovering like the smoke that drifted from the fire. What had this place seen? What stories remained hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? As she looked around at the flickering faces illuminated by firelight, Mia knew they had only scratched the surface. The valley was their refuge, but what deeper understanding awaited them? And for the first time, she feared she was ready to confront whatever emerged from the shadows of their past. What deep secrets lay waiting in the heart of the valley, just beneath the surface? As the fire crackled, casting flickering light across their faces, Mia felt a shift in the energy around them. With each story shared, the darkness that had clung to the valley gradually began to dissipate. Yet Drew's words echoed in her mind, a constant reminder that something was waiting further down, deeper than the smiles and laughter they exchanged. She gathered her thoughts, wanting to keep the momentum of connection alive. Let us not stop here, she urged, her voice rising with enthusiasm. Let us dig deeper. Let us share not just our joys and triumphs, but also our fears and regrets. It's time to lift the veil on our history together. Nods and murmurs rippled through the crowd, a mixture of uncertainty and excitement. Some faces lit up at the prospect, while others remained cautious, as if standing on a precipice. Mia understood their hesitation. Unpacking old wounds was never easy, but she felt an urgency gnawing at her. Before she could continue, a tall woman stepped forward. Her eyes sparkled with both wisdom and sorrow. I lost my brother years ago, during the factory layoffs, she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. No one talked about it. We buried the pain, thinking it would make it easier. But every silence felt like a weight on my heart. A hush fell over the gathering. Mia's chest tightened at the revelation. The woman's fragility resonated deeply, and she sensed a collective understanding wash over the crowd. Some had experienced loss, others held on to guilt, drawing strength from this shared pain. Another man spoke, his hands clasping tightly together. I didn't want to admit it, but I was scared. Scared of losing my job, scared of what would happen to my family. His voice broke slightly, a vulnerability spilling into the open air. The flames crackled louder as if urging him on. I watched friends turn on each other, blaming one another for the factory's downfall, and I did nothing. Mia felt her heart ache for him. She saw it mirrored in others, echoing their own fears and regrets. A sense of unity blossomed in the valley, binding them with shared experiences that had once festered in silence. "This valley, it saw us fall apart," Drew interjected gently. "But it can also witness our rebuilding. The secrets buried here don't have to stay hidden any longer." Those words ignited something in Mia. She took a deep breath, feeling the fire's warmth wash over her. "Let us reclaim this valley together. Let us share not just what we've lost, but what we can gain. It's time to rewrite our story." The crowd murmured, stirring back to life. As more voices chimed in, revealing pieces of their past that had long been shrouded in darkness, Mia felt hope erupting like the flames before her. They were a tapestry of vibrant stories, rich with threads of joy and sorrow. But even amidst this newfound connection, Mia couldn't shake the uneasiness Drew had stirred. What if the deeper truths held more than just sadness? What if they unveiled a strength hidden within their struggles, waiting to be unearthed? As laughter and stories continued to intertwine under the night sky, Mia glanced at Drew. His expression was distant, almost haunted. The cracks in their pain shared a language neither had discovered yet. Just beneath the surface, another layer waited, demanding to be uncovered. In that moment, she felt the urge to delve further, to set off on an exploration that could change everything. What secrets lay buried in the valley? What would they find as they ventured into the unknown? Mia tightened her grip on the edges of hope, knowing they were on the cusp of something transformative. The air was thick with promise, then the fire flickered brighter, whispering that answers waited just out of reach. Their journey had only just begun. What mysteries lay ahead, waiting to be brought to light? Mia looked around at the faces illuminated by the firelight, searching for strength in their stories. This was a moment she knew they couldn't waste. She felt as if they teetered on the edge of a powerful transformation. "What else do we carry?" she asked, prompting them to dig even deeper. "What else have we hidden from each other?" A middle-aged man with scars on his hands stepped forward. He cleared his throat and hesitated, the flickering fire cast shadows that made his face seem more rugged. "My father," he began, his voice cracking. "He lost his job, lost his will to fight. He stopped speaking, stopped trying. I thought I could help him, but I was just a kid and I followed in his footsteps. I let fear stop me from reaching for more." His words hung in the air, heavy and raw. Mia saw others lean in, their breath held as if not to break the spell of honesty. This was what they needed, relief from the burdens they had carried alone. Each revelation created a ripple effect, pulling more from the shadows. "I thought I was alone in feeling like this," a young woman admitted, her eyes glistening. "But it feels like we're all in the same storm. I'm terrified of not being enough whoever I am, it's never enough." As she spoke, the night deepened. The laughter faded, replaced by contemplative murmurs chatting the gap between hope and despair. People exchanged glances filled with understanding, as if they had suddenly recognized themselves in each other's stories. Mia felt her heart swell and twist. There was an unspoken pact forming in the circle, a commitment to lift one another, to share burdens instead of burying them. "You are enough," she said softly, her voice ringing with sincerity. "We've all felt it. But sharing that feeling together makes us stronger." Drew stood beside her, a beacon of quiet strength. "Look around," he encouraged, gesturing to their gathering. "This valley has heard your stories and now must witness your healing. You're not just telling these tales for yourselves, you are sharing them to lift this whole community." With those words, it was as if a dam broke. People poured out their tales of loss, regret, but also of hope and resilience. They talked about dreams deferred and moments stolen by fear, but also the flickers of light that led them to embrace change. The conversation swirled around Mia, electrifying the atmosphere, yet a chill kept creeping into her heart. What truths were still hiding? What connections were still waiting to be made before this night could close? As the fire began to dim, the atmosphere signaled the close of a chapter. The flames danced lower, glowing embers floating upward like the unanswered questions that lingered in the air. Anxiety twisted in her stomach. We've opened old wounds, yes, but there is still something more, she murmured to Drew, hope mingling with apprehension. He nodded, eyes uncertain. There is a deeper story to be told. Things we thought we had buried so deep they could never haunt us again. His expression shifted, an urgency sparking in his gaze. If we dig deeper, we might just uncover what has held us back. What exactly do we need to uncover? She pressed, drawn into the intensity brewing between them. Drew took a breath. The truth about this valley. The reason why it pushed us apart for so long. We need to confront what has been hidden. Mia's heart raced. She sensed they were standing on the edge of a precipice, poised for revelation. They couldn't turn back now. Let us find out why this valley has borne witness to our pain. Together. As she spoke those words, the night air crackled with energy, an energy that promised change. They were hungry for answers, standing at the crossroads of lost opportunities and the chance for renewal. Would they dare to break through one last barrier? What awaited them just on the other side of fear? The fire's flicker dimmed and Mia felt a call to adventure awakening within. What truths lingered in the shadows, ready to rise? The journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. The air felt charged as Mia stood at the threshold of courage and fear. Each person around the fire had contributed a part of themselves, but deep down, she sensed there were deeper roots at play. Let us not just scrape the surface, she urged, her voice suddenly determined. Let us dig into the heart of what binds us and understand why we've let ourselves drift apart for so long. Drew stepped closer to the fire, its warmth reflecting in his eager eyes. We can't heal if we don't face our past, he said, holding the gaze of the group. What if we each shared a memory tied to this valley? A moment that shaped us. It could be something you cherish or something you wish to forget. Mia felt the gravity of his words. A ripple of uncertainty passed through the group. They had bared their souls but hadn't yet faced the painful truths that loomed just beneath the surface. The flickering flames crackled as if to encourage them to take that leap. A teenager with fiery red hair and a smattering of freckles shifted nervously. I can go first, she offered, her voice wavering slightly. When I was little, I lost my home to a fire. It's what first made me fear this valley. I thought it took everything from me. She paused, her fingers dancing around the dried grass at her feet. But what I didn't realize until much later was that this valley, it gave me a chance to rebuild. I found my friends here. I found a shelter, a community. A wave of acknowledgement washed over the group, eyes softening. It was a reminder of resilience, a testament to the strength this land could embody. Mia recognized something in her words. This valley, with all its secrets, had been both a sanctuary and a prison. Thank you for sharing that, Mia said, her heart swelling with empathy. That is what we've been carrying. We see it as loss, but it can also be a gift in disguise. An older woman, worn but wise, followed. I lost my husband to this valley, she spoke, her voice steady yet fragile. He went hiking one day and never came back. I cursed this place, but it was his favorite spot. Every day I've tried to distance myself from it, but I still come here. Because somehow, being close feels like being with him. Tears glistened in her eyes as she continued, just this year I decided to make this valley a place of memories instead of grief. I planted flowers where I last saw him. I let nature remind me of both love and loss. An astute silence followed. Each revelation stoked the flames within them. Mia realized as these stories unfolded, they weren't just speaking of loss or fear but declaring their connection to this land, their pasts woven together in a beautifully complex tapestry. Then, it was Drew's turn. He stood, gathering thoughts that tumbled like stones in his heart. My father spent years working the land here, he said, his voice softer. He raised me to love it, but I always felt his expectations were a weight I couldn't carry. I rebelled against trying to be perfect like him. It took years of distance for me to see that he just wanted what was best. He drew in a shaky breath. I think I pushed away my love for this valley out of spite, and now I need to find that back. With each story, each piece of vulnerability, the weight lifted slightly, as if the very air felt lighter. Mia could feel their collective hope igniting, the spark strong enough to challenge the darkness that had lingered for too long, but a part of her still whispered, what about the dark truths that lay beneath? What must they confront next? As the last embers of the fire danced into the night sky, Mia felt an urgency swell within her chest. There is still more, she said, her voice heavy with anticipation. What have we not yet unearthed? What is the final piece we need to bring us together fully? And it was then that the shadows seemed to deepen, urging them to look closer. Would they unlock the final hidden door and confront the true heart of their pain? What awaited them when they stepped into the void of their fears? As the fire crackled, its glow dimmed in the encroaching darkness. The group stared into the glowing embers, the weight of Mia's question hanging in the air like a thick fog. A shared silence stretched, tension clinging to the moment. I'm not sure I want to go deeper, someone finally murmured. It was a voice filled with hesitation, echoing the fears of many. What if we find things we can't handle? Mia shifted closer to the fire, the heat warming her face but not quite touching the chill in her heart. But if we don't confront it, doesn't it just fester? She replied, the conviction in her voice rising. How can we heal without facing the wounds? We can share our burdens together. The quiet sobering silence hung like a banner above them, but just then, Drew spoke. You know, when I thought about what I wanted to share tonight, I hesitated too. I was afraid not just of hurting, but of facing the parts of myself I've hidden away. It took me years to realize being vulnerable doesn't mean being weak, it's actually strength. His words melted the icy dread, and with them, a flicker of courage sparked within others. The teenager with the red hair lifted her chin. I guess. I kept thinking about the fire I mentioned. But it feels like there is more than just loss in that memory. It's about my family too. I distanced myself from them after the fire. I didn't want to talk about it. But it wasn't fair to push them away when they wanted to help. Mia nodded. That is a brave realization. Recognizing how our struggles shape our connections with others is huge. One of the older men, weathered and wise, leaned forward, thick hands clasped tightly. When I moved here years ago, leaving my family behind, it was to escape. But I didn't realize how solitude could twist your heart. I thought it was what I wanted, yet it turned out to be a prison of its own. I kept building walls, not knowing I was losing sight of my own joy. The group nodded in unison, a wave of understanding washing over them. These weren't just memories but threads that bound them all. Secrets unveiled felt lighter when shared, reminiscent of old burdens fallen away. The older woman, with a soulful gaze, broke the silence. What we are talking about is more than just our pasts. It's how we've shaped who we are now. This valley, it's not just what we've lost, but what we've gained too. It reminds us of our humanity. A sense of camaraderie started to fill the air, thickening with each story, each revelation. Mia felt a swelling hope. Yes. That is it. This valley isn't just a place of loss, it's our resilience, it's our lessons. But we need to acknowledge every part of it, the good and the painful. It was Drew who next picked up the thread, something shifting in him as the group leaned in closer. We've all experienced this place in such different ways. But there is one thing I think we need to confront. There is a reason why we've drifted apart. Something binds us here, but it's also what tore us away from one another. Mia's heart raced. Are you suggesting we share the darkest truths? The ones we've shied away from? He nodded slowly, his face illuminated by the soft light. Yes. The roads we took to get here, the fears we've buried. The anger, the sadness. They are part of our journey too. The fire sputtered, and the excitement transformed into a palpable urgency. Each person held the weight of their darkness, and Mia felt the stirring call to awaken those truths. Together in a circle, bound by curiosity, fear, and hope, they had to decide. Would they sift through the ashes of their past to find the treasures beneath? As they all exchanged glances, a mix of apprehension and resolve blooming in their eyes, Mia felt a gut-wrenching urge to push forward. Then let us dive deep. Let us unearth these painful truths together. What is the worst that could happen? We might just find a way to heal, to bond stronger than ever before. But just as a few nodded in agreement, the night grew eerily quiet, as unsettling whispers echoed around them, leaving an ominous question lingering in the air. What will they truly uncover when they confront their deepest pain? Are they ready for whatever waits in the shadows? The silence stretched, heavy and thick, as if the very air was holding its breath. Mia could see the flickering shadows dance on the faces of her friends, uncertainty reflecting in their eyes. The darkness felt alive, pressing in on them, as whispers swirled around the fire, a disembodied symphony of forgotten secrets and buried fears. Drew broke the spell, his voice steady, yet laced with tension. What if the truths we find are too much to carry? Mia took a breath, feeling the warmth of the fire against her skin. We don't have to go in alone. We've gotten through so much together already. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the log beside her. We can hold each other up. The red-haired girl nodded slowly. It's like opening a wound again, but maybe it's already healing beneath the surface. A nervous laugh broke the tension, one of the older men chuckling dryly. Reminds me of that old saying, sometimes you have to bleed to heal. Mia's heart clenched. She understood that feeling all too well. The past had a way of entangling itself around memories, wrapping them in pain. But her resolve was looping tighter, every instinct urging her to bring her story to light. All right then, she spoke, trying to inject a surge of courage into her voice. I'll go first. The group leaned in, breathless with anticipation. She wished for a magic word to help her find the right path through her tangled emotions. Growing up, I always felt like I had to put on a brave face. But inside, I was terrified of not fitting in, not being loved. Faces softened in sympathy, expressions shifting with her words. When I turned 16, my father lost his job. It felt like the world was ending. I told myself I had to stay strong for my mom. She paused, letting the memories settle, pain flickering through her heart. But I just shut everyone out. I thought if I didn't show my heart, no one would notice. I didn't realize how lonely I was making myself. Emotion surged, tightening her throat and welling tears in her eyes. I should have let them in, released some of that weight. I still feel guilty about how I treated them. Suddenly, warm hands gripped her shoulders. Drew was at her side, his gaze steady. You are not alone in this, Mia. We are right here. That is true, the red-haired girl chimed in, tears glimmering in her own eyes now. I think we all carry some guilt. I pushed away my family too. That fire made me feel so ashamed I couldn't face them. I thought distance would heal what I had lost, but it only left me feeling emptier. Each breath filled with shared confessions ignited something in the group, weaving an invisible thread among them. The older man shared his struggles next, and soon stories spilled like water breaking through a dam. Pain, sorrow, and the weight of unspoken truths flowed freely, binding them together in their vulnerability. Each revelation birthed a quiet understanding, affirming how their lives intertwined, how their experiences were both unique and laced with familiar heartaches. As the night wore on, they began sharing laughter between tearful silence, reflecting resilience amid the darkness. Mia felt lighter with every story, lifted by the honesty that surrounded them. But outside the circle of warmth, the whispering shadow still loomed, coiling like secrets beneath the soil. Are we truly ready to face everything that has been kept in the dark? Mia whispered, a whisper of concern mixed with a flicker of hope. The group fell silent, staring into the depths of the fire, contemplating the truth of her question. What else lay buried beneath the surface of their stories? Just as the weight of uncertainty thickened, a sharp crack echoed through the trees. A low growl rumbled in the distance, sending a jolt through them. Mia Drew murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. What if there are darker truths lurking out there with us? Fear danced at the edges of their newfound bonds, and as the forest seemed to breathe around them, the darkness deepened. Would they brave the wild uncertainties ahead, or would the shadows hold them back? The air felt electric, charged with the mix of their open hearts and the encroaching darkness. Mia's pulse quickened, each beat echoing in her ears. The night felt heavy with unspoken truths, both within their circle and lurking beyond the firelight. Maybe it's just animals, the red-haired girl whispered, casting a glance towards the tree line. Yet even as she spoke, an unease settled among them, thickening the atmosphere. Drew stood suddenly, forcing them all to look at him. We need to focus. If we are being watched, if something is out there, then we have to stick together. Let us not lose sight of why we are here. His determination was palpable, a flame against the creeping shadows. With a newfound resolve, the group nodded, their bond forged by shared fears and dreams. You are right, Mia said, surprising herself with her steadiness. Let us finish what we started. We can't let fear keep us silent. With renewed fervor, Drew motioned to the others to sit back down. We'll share our truths, no matter the darkness. Nothing out there can hurt us as long as we have each other. One by one, truths began to flow again. The older man, who had revealed his struggles earlier, spoke of a childhood marred by neglect. I built walls, convinced I was unlovable. But I never learned to let people in, and for years I walked life alone. In sharing tonight, I realize I'm ready to let those walls fall. The fire crackled, illuminating the faces around it. The red-haired girl wiped her tears, and this time she smiled. You know, I thought my scars would define me. But I can see now they're only part of my story. Maybe they can guide me to a better tomorrow. As they took turns sharing their stories, catharsis became their new armor against fears. Laughter surfaced again, nostalgic storytelling mingling with heartache until it felt less like a daunting burden and more like a shared journey forward. But just as the warmth bloomed, a shiver of wind swept through the clearing, carrying with it an unsettling howl that sliced through their mirth. Attention shifted, dread pulling in their stomachs. What was that? Mia squeaked, the safety of their circle suddenly seeming flimsy against the unknown. We need to stay focused, Drew said, trying to keep the fear from showing in his voice. Go on, Mia. What else is on your mind? I don't know if I can. What if my truth invites something worse? Her voice wavered, revealing vulnerability. Shadows danced again at the edge of the firelight, mockingly flickering at the tips of their fears. No, Drew interjected. Telling your story can't invite anything that won't let the light in. We've come too far. Your truth is safe here. Mia took a deep breath, battling the urge to retreat. But she could feel everyone's eyes, each gaze a beacon of encouragement. Okay. But there is so much more. I need to expose everything, the fears I hide even from myself. Maybe they are what is keeping those shadows alive. Maybe I've given them more power than I realized. The statement hung in the air, a pivotal promise teetering on the edge of revelation. The group exchanged nervous glances, the underlying tension weaving through their confessions. Just then, a figure darted in the shadows beyond the fire, swift and low. Mia's heart skipped a beat, the air thick with anxiety as the forest seemed to close in. What was that? The red-haired girl gasped, all laughter drained from her face. That is not just the wind, Drew whispered, his voice heavy with concern. It felt real. As they squared their shoulders, fear trembling just beneath courage, the unknown loomed larger than ever. Were they ready to confront whatever emerged from the darkness, or would this become a night of unimaginable truths both within and beyond? The fire crackled low, its light flickering as they braced for what lay ahead. The tension thickened around them, and in that moment, they stood not just as friends but as warriors. But would that be enough? What would happen if they faced both their shadows and the mystery that lurked beyond the glow? Mia's breath caught in her throat. The flickering glow of the fire illuminated her wide eyes, reflecting her inner turmoil. The shadows at the edge of the clearing twisted, seemingly alive, teasing the edges of her imagination. What had she invited forth by contemplating her truth? Everyone stay calm, Drew urged, his voice a steady anchor in the storm that brewed around them. Let us keep talking. The red-haired girl, still pale from panic, exchanged uneasy glances with the others. What if that thing out there knows our fears? What if it wants us to admit them? Maybe it's the truth we fear the most that gives it power, the older man interjected, his tone both grave and insightful. Perhaps the darkness is merely a reflection of what we hide. Mia stared into the fire, watching the flames dance as if they were mirroring her own tumultuous thoughts. She had been hiding for too long. Tonight was supposed to be about freeing herself from that burden, not inviting more shadows. Then we need to face it together, Drew said with resolve. I'm here with you all. We can't let fear be the master of our truth. Taking a cue from him, the older man shared another slice of his story. Many years ago, I lost someone I loved. I never really faced that grief. Instead, I bottled it up, pretending I was fine. But it hurt me for so long. I realize now that my fear overshadowed the good memories. Tension broke slightly as the fire crackled, coaxing out a forced chuckle from the red-haired girl. So what? Is that beast out there a reflection of our grief? It's just waiting for us to spill our secrets. I think we can confront it with our truths, Mia said, her voice stronger now. Let us take away its power. Let us make it afraid of us instead. The forest seemed to respond, the unsettling howl now distant and muffled. With the air thick with determination, Mia felt her heart racing, but this time from excitement, not fear. She could feel the warmth of camaraderie flowing around her, reinforcing her courage. All right, she whispered, the weight of uncertainty lifting. I'll go. I'll share. Before she could lose her nerve again, she continued. I've always felt invisible, like no one really sees me. I put on this facade of happiness, thinking if I pretended enough, I could escape it. But the truth is, it only deepens my loneliness. I don't want to feel this way anymore. The vulnerability hung in the air, shimmering like the firelight. Mia watched as her confession settled amongst them, a gentle sigh escaping the red-haired girl, who seemed to lighten just a fraction. Drew stepped forward. You are not invisible to us. It takes a lot of courage to admit that. We are all standing on the edge together. As if emboldened by Mia's words, the others began to share freely, burdens cast into the night, complexities untangled under the watchful gaze of the stars. Each confession lit the fire of understanding between them, igniting a warmth that chased away the chill of fear. But then, a rustle broke the stillness, louder this time, more deliberate. Mia's heart raced again. What if it hears us? She whispered, eyes darting towards the darkness. Then we scream louder, Drew said defiantly. We won't let it drown us out. We have to stand together. And with that, they raised their voices, the confessions mingling with the night, their truths becoming shields against the looming shadow. But just as they emboldened one another, the ground beneath them shifted. A low growl reverberated through the air, rattling the leaves and sending an icy tendril of fear racing up Mia's spine. Did you hear that? The red-haired girl gasped, her bravado crumbling. Yes, Mia breathed, eyes wide as she grasped Drew's arm. And it feels closer this time as they huddled together, hearts pounding and pulse quickening, uncertainty clawed at them. Was the darkness pushing back, or were they finally breaking through? The night held its breath, the fire flickering as the shadows moved again, coiling like snakes around the edges of the clearing. The unknown had come to their doorstep, and now, they had to choose: fight against the encroaching darkness or let it swallow them whole. Would they stand united, or would the fear they spoke of become their greatest enemy? The answer loomed as ominous as the growl that echoed off the trees. Night pressed down like a heavy blanket, the whispers of the forest wrapping around them as the shadows loomed closer. Mia's skin prickled with fear, but as she stood alongside her friends, she felt an unwavering pulse of connection. The campfire crackled, desperately fighting the encroaching dark. This was their moment, their choice to confront the unknown together. Drawing a deep breath, Mia glanced around at the faces surrounding her, reflecting courage and trepidation, emotion flickering like the flames. We've come this far, she said, trembling yet resolved. What we are facing out there, it's just the fear we've kept locked inside. It thrives in our silence. But we are stronger than that. Together, we can beat it. Drew stepped forward, eyes locked with Mia's, the fierce resolve shining in their depths. What we've spoken here, our truths, our dreams, the burdens we've carried, they're the light that will push back the darkness. We face it head on. Nothing can break our spirit when we stand united. His words ignited the embers of their shared courage. One by one, each person committed to facing their fears. The red-haired girl spoke first, a voice shaking but filled with determination. I was afraid of being seen for who I really am. A failure, but tonight, I choose to be brave. To embrace my past instead of letting it define me. Another person followed, a hesitant nod easing the confines of fear. I've been hiding from my grief for years. No more. I will carry my loved one's memory with joy instead of sorrow. Mia felt raw energy coursing through the group as others echoed similar sentiments, dismantling the chains of their pasts. Each confession was a flame, illuminating the darkness that had shadowed their lives for far too long. Then, just as resolve began to swell in their midst, the ground trembled slightly. A low growl reverberated through the air, sharper and more unsettling than before. Panic surged, but Drew held up a hand. Stay strong. Whatever lurks out there can only sense our fear. Let us ground ourselves in unity. Mia nodded, a heart pounding but bolstered by the strength around her. As they raised their voices in collective affirmation, declaring their fears, their hopes, the shadows seemed to pull away, retreating in response to the light of their courage. Suddenly, a flash of movement darted through the trees. The group fell silent, eyes wide, breath snagged in their throats. What if it sees us? One whispered, trembling. But Mia, with newfound resolve, took a step forward. We are not alone. We are all here. Together, let us stand firm against this thing. If it wants our fear, let us show it our strength. In that moment, she felt a shift, an invisible barrier strengthening between them. The fire flickered wildly, embers lifting high into the night sky, like spirits dancing free. The growl echoed again, but it sounded less certain, more distanced. "Let us do this," Mia urged, her voice steady. One by one, everyone stepped closer, illuminating their shared flame, a circle of unity pushing back the night. "You need to face this with us. We will not let you take our light." Mia shouted into the shadows, the sound a blend of fear and newfound strength. And there, standing amidst the glow, the shadows began to dissipate, revealing the unseen. What emerged was familiar yet profound, a reflection of their fears, an embodiment of their struggles, but also a glimpse of hope and resilience. It wasn't a monster at all, but echoes of themselves, the past reborn, their emotional scars woven into the fabric of the valley. Breathing heavy, Mia stepped forward again as the light grew ever stronger. "You are part of us. You taught us strength through pain. We acknowledge you, and in doing so, we are no longer afraid. Our shadows make us whole. We can heal." With that brave declaration, the growls quieted. The darkness that had once threatened became a vibrant tapestry of each individual story, the wounds of loss intertwined with threads of courage. They had faced what they feared the most and, in doing so, had reclaimed their identity. Cheers erupted, the sound ringing alongside the crackling fire, offering warmth that permeated each heart. Fear had given way to exhilaration, walls of isolation shattered under the weight of connection. As the fire blazed higher, the group held their ground, transformed not just by confrontation but by the acceptance of their collective story. The valley, their sanctuary, bore witness as they laughed, cried, and embraced their truths, a space of healing and hope flickering bright against the night. Mia closed her eyes, heart swelling with a gratitude that reverberated through her entire being. They were no longer bound by the shadows, they had risen together, anchored in love and resilience. "Let us keep this fire alive, not just tonight but always," Mia said earnestly, as their joy danced on the edges of newfound dreams. "Together, we'll write a new story," Drew chimed, eyes sparkling, one filled with light, the kind that will guide others back to their own hidden valleys. The warmth of genuine triumph enveloped them, a bond that whispered of infinite possibility. And as they stared into the flickering flames, Mia could see the reflection of the valley alive with history, hope, and connection. The dawn awaited, shimmering on the horizon. Now is the time to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories waiting for you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support because we need it. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters, and don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.